All righty. Welcome in, everybody. We are Biscuits and SEC Live. It is our week 9 show, which is crazy to say. We're here to recap a absolutely wall-to-wall week 8. Of course, we've got to get to the firing of Billy Napier as well. It is a jam-packed show. Thanks for joining. Excited to have DrewTAMU on as our guest picker today as well. This is our 56th show. Hard to believe we've been doing this over a year now. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. Boss man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. What a week 8 it was. We had so many great games all across the SEC and across the country. So just looking forward to getting into it, talking a little ball tonight. We're going to have Drew come in a little bit early tonight. He'll be in around 6:15 or 6:20. So we have to get him out of here a little early. So we'll do his segment a little bit early. And then on the back end, we'll keep talking a little bit more ball after that. So let's dive right in.
Love it. Yeah, like we said, jam-packed. We got a guest picker. We got a lot to get to. So, again, thanks for joining. Sign up for the newsletter. If you haven't, it's free, biscuitsndsec.com/newsletter. Twice a week during the season, Mondays, Fridays. We just keep you up to date on all things going on in the SEC. Of course, please consider, subscribing to our YouTube, following us on social, all that good stuff. But our first topic of the night is Billy Napier finally done at Florida. Not a surprise given A, just how his tenure has gone, but B, there, of course, were reports last week that it felt like regardless of the outcome of the Mississippi State game, he would be out. And similar to our alma mater, A&M, with Jimbo Fisher, you get a win versus Mississippi State, and they still fire you the next day. So Billy's out in Gainesville. What's your thought on that? I don't know. Just give us your read on where they might go, Billy, how it's been at Florida. I mean, there's a lot we could get into.
Yeah. So look, 23 and 24, whatever he was, 22 and 23 at Florida, just obviously doesn't get it done. If there's just one stat you need to know, it was that one. And you look at the records of the coaches who were there before him and got fired, and Dan Mullen, Jim McElwain, and Will Muschamp, our good friend, Coach Muschamp, all winning records at Florida. And each of them had some sort of skin on the wall. Billy had a couple skins on the wall in terms of some big wins, the big win at Ole Miss last year, the win against Texas this year, but it just never really got to lift off. There was always some big regressions. You got the USF loss this year in the Swamp. There was some high highs for Billy, but low lows. And when you're at a place like Florida, who has seen the high highs of the Spurrier era and the Urban Meyer era and all of that, a couple big wins isn't going to get it done. I mean, to the point where even, the Texas win, you lose to Texas A&M, and you pretty much get handled in that game. And then you come back to the Swamp and you get a win. But even at the end of that game, you got fans chanting, "Fire Billy." And, I'll say one thing about this. I do have a little bit to say about that. Look, I think there's a lot of great Florida fans out there. I think it's a great fan base. But honestly, classless to be booing Billy Napier off the field after a win and after how much that guy gave to your program. I mean, that guy, look, it didn't work out, but there doesn't seem to be a better man in college football than Billy Napier in terms of his character, in terms of the way he treated his players, in terms of the way he approached the job. And it just didn't work out. So I honestly thought it was classless to be booing him off the field, especially after a win. You get a win in the Swamp and they're booing him off the field. So I didn't like that personally. I wasn't a fan of that, but you understand it, to some degree, at least if you're a Florida fan. Look, if I was a Florida fan, I'd have been saying he should be fired too. So I get it from their perspective. $26 million buyout, it had to be done. And we'll see where they go from here. I mean, I heard Josh Pate talking about it last night, and he said that he doesn't think they're going to get past Lane Kiffin or Eli Drinkwitz. He said he thinks it's those two guys. John Summerall's out there as well. So we'll see. I kind of hope Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. I think it's a great story. I love him at Ole Miss. But Florida's probably a bigger job at the end of the day. So we'll see. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's anybody else out there that they may go after?
I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot of really good candidates. I think Lane Kiffin and Eli Drinkwitz are excellent candidates that would do very well there, both of them. I think if they could get one of those two guys, then kind of case closed. But, I don't know. I think the Lane thing to me, and I'm sure Steven, our friend from Locked On Ole Miss and SEC After Dark, has a lot of thoughts about this. So check out what he has to say, from the Kiffin side of it. Personally, I don't think Kiffin is going to take the job there, but that's coming with no inside information. That's just a gut feeling. I don't know about Drinkwitz. He probably would. I mean, Missouri to Florida is a better gig, but if it's not one of those two guys, I think it's interesting because I think Florida does not want another G5 guy or a coordinator, which is interesting to me when you look at who the successful coaches in college football are right now, because most of them were G5 and or coordinators before they got their major gig. You look around these home run hires of guys who have done it, Jimbo Fisher, Brian Kelly, like there's a lot of guys that don't end up being, the home run you thought they were.
James Franklin.
Well, I was going to bring him up as maybe somebody they should go after. I think the Florida fan base would be furious about that, but
I think you're right.
Which I would understand. Again, we talked enough about Franklin, and he won a lot of games, but Florida wants to win titles, and Franklin didn't show the ability to do that. So if I was a Florida fan and they did hire Franklin, I would understand, being upset about it. But I think your initial point there is probably right. I think Lane is the obvious first choice. Everything out of Gainesville says that's who they want. That's who the fan base wants. And then if you can't get him, it's kind of funny because I keep hearing like, well, they want their next Spurrier, and Lane wears a visor and talks trash and does all the stuff that Spurrier did. So does Eli Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz wears a visor. Eli Drinkwitz talks smack. He, in his own words, stands on business. So I think Drink would be great there. I think if they could get him, I have no idea. He obviously has no ties to Missouri or Florida specifically from his, past, other than he's been at Missouri for a while now. And, Florida is, as we've discussed, a amazing job and opportunity for the right person. So I of course could see him taking that, but I don't know. I think it'll be a very interesting case study because I think times are different now, right? With NIL, the portal, how you can build a roster. I heard somebody saying this, I can't remember, but yeah, if this was 1997, Lane Kiffin's taking this job, no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
But now, it's very much we don't know, because he seems to like Ole Miss, and Ole Miss has invested a lot, and the scales are a little more even than they have been in the past. I think there are definitely some things, objectively speaking, that make Florida on paper a better job. But of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So that none of that stuff might matter to Lane Kiffin. And I do think there's merit to the idea that those jobs are a lot closer than maybe they once were. And you can make the same case for Missouri in some respects, right? Eli's winning a lot of games there. They've dedicated a ton of resources to NIL. Again, it's in the eye of the beholder. I think there are things objectively that Florida has more of and, better access to, but Drink is doing a very good job at Missouri and presumably could stay there a very long time. And if you show up at Florida, there's a graveyard of coaches out back that they have fired in short order because they didn't live up to the standard. So again, I know how these coaches think, right? That's not going to happen to me. I'm the man. I'll get the job done with those resources. I'll do it. But look around. There's a lot of guys that didn't get it done there that were good coaches.
That's right. And, there's places too that people talk about the parachute landing, right? Or a coach who wants to reset the clock or something, right? And I don't think either Lane Kiffin or Eli Drinkwitz is on the clock. I think they have very long leashes now at Ole Miss and Missouri based on what they've done. But, if you make a move like this, Florida just fired Billy Napier after 3 years. Dan Mullen was what, 4? Jim McElwain was 4, 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Florida's a place that you're really resetting the clock. You better win right now. And I think those guys could do that at Florida, but we all thought that Billy Napier could do that. And we thought Dan Mullen could. And Dan Mullen goes to an SEC title game, and then, it's the wheels fall off very short order after that. So I don't know if that's really a place that you want to reset the clock at. But both of them are very stable in their jobs right now in terms of we're winning 9 to 10 games a year and have been, consistently now for a couple of years. We have this thing rolling. Like, why would I go start over? And I think maybe part of that is the NIL and the transfer portal era, as you mentioned, where you can really turn over a roster very, very quickly, right? So we'll see. Mike Huseman, our friend from Off Season After Dark, he's got another one who's kind of out of left field here, but a little bit, he's got connections there, right? He's a Gator alumni. Jed Fish, that's a good one to point out, Mike. He's at Washington now, was at Arizona, did a very good job while he was at Arizona. So that's a name to watch. He was, I believe, in the Patriots organization as well before that. Rick and Bonnie here, they say, Rick Wilmarth, our friend, Captain Biscuit here, Vandy coach. I'm not so sure. I don't think Clark Lee's leaving Vandy, to be honest. He would be. I would go after him if I was Florida or somebody else, but it would take a lot, I think, to pry him away from Vandy just because he's a Vandy alumni. He played there, and I think he just loves the place. And I think he really wants to build Vandy into a winner. So we'll see where Florida goes from here. I'm very interested to see. Look, at this point, I think they're a blue blood, but you can kind of call them a sleeping giant. I mean, for 15 years now, since Urban Meyer left, it's been very up and down with a couple highs and a lot of lows and a lot of mediocrity. So sleeping giant there at Florida. If they can get the right coach, Florida could be back very quickly.
Yeah, they could. But again, at the end of the day, no surprise. Writing was on the wall, had been for a long time, and you're 3.5 years into your tenure at Florida, under 500. So no surprise. I'm sure Billy will, he'll land on his feet somewhere and get a G5 job or a coordinator gig somewhere. Well, I don't know about a coordinator gig because their offense stunk, but maybe a G5 gig. Anyway, we've got a ton of action to recap from week 8, but as we mentioned, our guest picker has a hard out. So we're going to go ahead and get our friend DrewTAMU in here and get this kicked off. So let me just add him to the stage and we will start talking some week 9 action.
There you go.
There he is. Hey, Drew, how are you, man?
What's up, man? Going on, guys? Appreciate y'all accommodating me for this and getting these games going. It's an exciting slate, man. How y'all been?
Doing good, man. We can't complain. It is another exciting slate. We had a great weekend of games last weekend, and it's just another weekend in the SEC, man. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's another great week and some pivotal games. And I thought Doug Dimmadome might be here this week. I don't see the top hat out here. I'm a little disappointed, but I think we'll make it work right now with the Tecovas hat.
We'll make it work. And, I'll just bring that out kind of occasionally and surprise people with it every once in a while.
I got you, man. I love it.
Love it. Well, yeah, Drew, thanks again for joining us. We're just going to throw this graphic up real quick. So Drew is an Aggie. We are Aggies as well. So excited to have him on. He's on Twitter at DrewTAMU. His YouTube is the exact same. And for any Aggies as well as SEC football fans at large out there, I highly recommend giving him a follow both on Twitter and YouTube. I saw, at least I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you just passed the 4,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just passed 4K. It's been a really good season. I think the Aggies playing well helps a little bit with the channel's growth. We started back in 2022, and that was a little bit of a rough start, with the whole kind of downfall of the Jimbo Fisher era. But we're sitting here doing pretty well. Year 2 under Mike Elko, so that helps the channel. And, we've had some really good commentary and back and forth right by the opposing team. So we have a lot of fun, man. We're on the journey to 5K now.
Love it. Well, awesome stuff. Again, be sure to give them a follow, subscribe, and try to get in before, it continues to blow up. If you can get in now, you're getting in still close to the ground level because there's a lot of growth coming for Drew and his channel. So in terms of our picks, we last week welcomed on Ellie Mae Williamson, who covers Tennessee, the Vols. We talked third Saturday in October, and she had a good week. It was actually shaping up to be really good until A&M allowed Arkansas to backdoor cover. The Tennessee game kind of fell apart at halftime with that pick six. So she ends up at 3-3. So Drew, I think there's some room here. I mean, 4-2 is the high mark right now. So if you can pull out a 5-1 or the elusive 6-0, you will take the lead in our picker standings. So I don't know. What are you thinking? Do you think you have a good read on these games, or what are your thoughts leading into picks? How are you feeling about?
Yeah, man, I thought I did a couple of weeks ago. I have my own little offshore betting site that I use. It's a very sketchy website that I like to go to, and I place my bets every week. And I had an amazing week. I think it was week 7 or so. But then last week we came crashing back down to earth. So if we hit the head side of this coin this week, I think I can get to the at least 4-2 marker. I think that'd be a pretty good week for me. I don't want to drip below 500. Let's go 3-3 here. Let's make that the goal. But if I can get it upper echelon on Biscuits and SEC, I'll feel pretty dang good.
There we go. Man. I like it. Well, hey, before we get into picks real quick, I just want to ask you, we ask a lot of our guests this, because if they're from another team or another fan base, we like to get a pulse of what's going on with the fan base. And so we're Aggies, like Hank said. So obviously we have a decent pulse, but we'd like you to tell our viewers here just kind of what the pulse of the Aggie fan base is, how they're feeling at 7-0, how they're feeling right now in the Mike Elko era. It's looking good. So just give us your read on kind of what's going on and what the feeling is in College Station.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I mean, obviously, y'all know things are going great right now. You're 7-0. You got the big one versus Notre Dame. You took care of business in the games that I felt like you had to take care of business in these last 4, the 3 at home, the one on the road at Arkansas, which was obviously too close for comfort. I was, edge of your seat the entire game down to the bitter end. But, I think it's just a positive vibe right now. I think the offense is progressing in a lot of ways. I think the defense, jury might still be out there. I think against the 2 best offenses you faced on the year, you've allowed some success. Offenses are scoring some points on you, but in the games where you feel like you can take care of business, you absolutely have in conference play. So I think the feel on Mike Elko is extremely positive. I'm really happy with this coaching staff. What you're getting from a guy like Tommy Moffitt, I think, is very apparent in the way that the team closes games, the way they play maybe their best football in late third quarter, fourth quarter action, the way they're able to kind of milk games out. That's been really good. And I think a guy like Trooper Taylor, I mean, obviously Elko built this entire staff quite recently while I'm highlighting guys. I think he's added to the connectivity of this team. So I just think Elko has really built the staff, really gone to the portal, and maybe gotten his dudes ahead of schedule, which you can do in today's day and age. And that has to hit. It has to work, because you can see like LSU, for example, offensively, they went to the portal and maybe it hasn't gone exactly as they would have hoped. And maybe it should have gone to the portal in a couple other areas like offensive tackle. So I think we're very happy with these year 2 returns. I think it's in a really good place, but pivotal week, week 9? Pivotal week 9 matchup for A&M. I mean, this is a big one. You got a big opportunity. I'm sure we'll talk about it later.
Yes, we certainly will. One thing to mention on that, you mentioned Tommy Moffitt. I just want to highlight that. That was a massive hire. For folks who don't know, he's the strength and conditioning coach at A&M, and he was there at LSU for a while. He was the strength and conditioning guy for the 2019 team that won the national championship, one of the greatest LSU teams ever. And Brian Kelly let that guy walk. And so now he's in College Station, and he's doing – I think he's the unsung hero right now of, the A&M coaching staff with what he's done. A&M looks like the better team and the more conditioned team through 4 quarters than just about every team they've played so far.
Yeah, it's been a really big deal. And I think he was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was the strength and conditioning coach for all 3 of their championships in the 2000s. I think he was the strength and conditioning coach for Bama, Nick Saban, Mr. Alabama. I think he was the strength and conditioning coach for Ed O and then Les Miles. And yeah, I mean, how do you let that happen? He's such a benefit to the team. The team is tougher. The team seems stronger and well conditioned. I'm knocking on wood as I say this, but the injury bug has been lighter this year than usual around A&M. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think it could be more apparent that the strength and conditioning coach is playing a massive impact on A&M's success right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you are correct. I think he was at LSU almost 20 years. So I think
To let him go after that, man. Yeah.
Thank
well,
you,
that's just
Brian.
Brian Kelly for you.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly had to bring his family down, and he didn't have any room for
His
Tommy
family.
Moffett.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start picking some games. So like we've talked about, exciting slate ahead. So we'll start out with the noon Eastern 11 a.m. kick, and it's a big one. Number 8 Ole Miss going to Norman to play number 13 Oklahoma. And these spreads, I think some of these have moved a little bit. We're giving you the same spreads that we picked on Sunday for our SEC After Dark show tomorrow. So this game, when it opened, was at 4.5 Oklahoma, which I thought was interesting given what we've seen from these teams this year. But just interested to hear your thoughts here, given Ole Miss kind of a tough stretch of games, going on the road, losing a heartbreaker to Georgia. Oklahoma, of course, losing a really tough Red River shootout game where they looked pretty lifeless, but then went on the road last week. And I know South Carolina's struggling, but after, a very much like a look ahead spot potentially, and Venables and that team were ready. So what's your read here? Do you think Ole Miss can, I don't know, I don't want to say keep their playoff hopes alive, but just can Ole Miss actually get a win in this game, or at least cover, or is Oklahoma just a better team and is going to take care of business at home?
Yeah, this is a super intriguing game stylistically, because you look at the Ole Miss offense, and I think, they lost the game. Georgia was the better fourth quarter team. I mean, they really didn't skip a beat up into that point, and I thought that was pretty encouraging to see from Ole Miss. For OU, yes, feel-good game on the road, South Carolina. Was that a semblance of a run game we saw on the road for OU? I mean, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal for OU, and I know South Carolina is not, in a really good place right now, but still just good to get it on paper. And you have the Venables defense versus the Lane Kiffin offense. I mean, it's super, super interesting. And then the other side of the ball is interesting too, because it's week on week, strong on strong. So I would think this is the best defense that Ole Miss has seen all year. I would think this is probably definitely the best offense that OU has seen all year. So what gives? And you talked about the stakes for OU. I think this is pretty much a must-win game, because you look at what happens next, right? Don't they have at Tennessee and another, I think, are they at Bama? They have a tough, they're in their stretch right now. They're in the trenches of their season, and they're at home. They have an opportunity against a quality team to get one under their belt. A lot of people saying that OU has a chance to get in at 9-3. We'll see. Who knows? But I think I give the tip of the hat to the home defensive team here. I think OU wins the game, but I think it's going to be really close and tight. So much so that if we're picking against the spread, I'm going to take Ole Miss to cover, but OU to win.
I like it. I like it. And to reiterate what Drew's talking about here, just with the Oklahoma schedule. They get this home game against Ole Miss, and then they go on the road at Tennessee, bye week, on the road at Bama, and then close with Missouri and LSU. So kind of a murderer's row there. So to your point, this is probably a must win for the Sooners if they, want to potentially make a college football playoff run.
Yeah, and I think Ole Miss, I mean, no one wants to lose a game. Look at their schedule. I think they could stomach this loss. I'm not saying that's a huge factor for them, but I think they have a couple of winnable ones after this. I think their toughest game might be Florida. They play State. I think it's more of a workable path for Ole Miss, and I think the urgency is on the OU side here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love it. Let's go to another fascinating game. Alex, you want to give a rundown of Auburn at Arkansas? Different reason it's fascinating, but it is fascinating.
I love this game.
I know. I love this game too. This one is off most people's radars, but people in the SEC, this one's just like, this is a must-watch game.
Oh, yeah.
Unranked teams, they're not very good. Their records are 2 and whatever. But it's going to be a fun one. One thing to mention on that OU Ole Miss game before we move on, it's going to be potential drenching, like thunderstorms,
really
drenched field. I mean, they're calling for 4 hours of rain on Saturday. So you mentioned the OU run game. I think it actually could come down to which run game is better in this, because I don't know how many people are going to be throwing the ball all over the yard like both of these teams like to do. So could it be Kawan Lacey with Ole Miss, or is it the OU run game that ends up being a little bit better? We'll see. All right, so Auburn and Arkansas. I mean, there's urgency on both sides. I'm fascinated by this game. I mean, you have Arkansas. They've already fired their coach, right? You got Bobby P. We know a lot about him from his 1 year at A&M. We wish Jimbo had unleashed him, but he did not. So anyway, he's doing – I mean, he just gave A&M a scare in Fayetteville. Now you've got Auburn, who is basically on the verge of collapse under Hugh Freeze. He's begging for John Cohen, the AD at Auburn, to give him a vote of confidence. And we'll see. He needs a win in the worst way. I honestly think if he loses to Arkansas, I think it's over. I think they're going to fire him, and it's just a matter of time, whether it's Sunday or whether it's in the next few weeks. So Auburn somehow is favored here. Now, this line has moved to 2.5 Arkansas since the opening line came out, but you're picking it with Auburn at 2.5. So what are you thinking here?
Oh, man, you're giving me a gift there. Yeah, I mean, Arkansas – for a 2-5 team that just fired a coach that, hasn't seen much success, the defense is obviously a massive liability. I mean, I was at the Arkansas game this last weekend, and that is a fan base that is alive and believes in their coach right now and has something to fight for. And I think a lot of them are in that Bobby P camp that just want him to succeed so he can be the guy and they can have clarity there. I don't think that's probably not unanimous, but there's a good contingent of Arkansas fans that really believe in the guy, because if it were up to him, he probably would have stayed there a lot longer than he did. That offense is, I think, as good as it gets in the SEC. I just think it's a super unbalanced team. I mean, Taylon Green, is that the best quarterback A&M will face this year? I think people are asking, and I think it's possible. I watched that dude completely bail Arkansas out late versus A&M over and over and over again, dead to rights, right? You had two guys on him in the backfield and just, hobbled knee, late in the game, spinning out of it, running for a 50-yard gain to save the game, backed up in a 4th and 5. But it doesn't stop with him. I mean, their offensive line is freaking good. The first thing I noticed watching this game was how much of a pop they were getting in the run, how well they were protecting. I mean, A&M's coming off of like a tear rushing the passer, and they held their own very admirably. And the running backs are really good in Washington and the big boy, I forget his name. And then the receivers are good enough, and they get even better because of Taylon Green. Mm-hmm. So it's a good defense they're going up against. I thought they went up against a pretty good, not a bad defense in A&M. I think that, like I said, the jury's still out, but I think it's a decent defense they went up against last week at least. And I just think this is going to be a storm for Arkansas, and not the rain kind that we had last week, but I think this is the one where they get it. And I think this is a big win for Arkansas. This is a 31-27 game. So Arkansas, if you're giving me 2.5, I'm taking that. I mean, I'm taking Arkansas plus 2.5 here. That's a pretty simple one for me, but that defense is bad. The defense for Arkansas is not very good. Maybe this is the game the Auburn offense can put it together. This is an opportunity to do so. It really is. It's there for them. But I have it higher scoring, and I have Arkansas getting over the top.
I'm interested to see what happens, man. We've got you're right about the Auburn offense. It has been so bad up to this point, and they're scoring, 17 points a game or something in SEC play. Yeah. But they have all the weapons to get it done. I'm very interested to see if in the first quarter, right, if Jackson Arnold doesn't play very well, if they go to the backup, because I can't remember the kid's name right now. It's not Deuce
Daniels.
Ashton Daniels. He's getting reps with the first team. That's public knowledge. So I would not be surprised if we get a quarterback change, and maybe that's a spark they need, going forward. So we'll see.
I mean, it's felt like they're a quarterback away the entire Hugh Freeze era, right? It feels like that's been the missing piece. I mean, they had Cam Coleman and others last year. Offensive line this year was supposed to be one of the more improved units in the league, and maybe they would be if they had a quarterback that could get the ball out more quickly or actually get the ball out at all. So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely an option. And if that happens, I mean, if I'm Arkansas, I get a little bit nervous because he's been such a problem for them. So we'll see, man. I think this is a big one for Arkansas, but I'm definitely not counting Auburn out in this one for sure.
Yeah, as we all said, this game maybe nationally not getting a ton of attention, but for SEC diehards, this will be a very fun one to watch. No matter how the outcome goes, as Aggies, we don't have a dog in the fight, but it should be a fun one.
I wish they both lose.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's go back to Columbia, South Carolina. We were talking a little bit about the Oklahoma traveling there this past week in week 8. So week 9, Bama heads there, and Bama's on a roll. They are 13.5-point favorites right now. They've won 4 consecutive games against ranked opponents. It feels like they'll probably continue to roll given how South Carolina has looked, which is very completely lost. The Mike Shula hire has not turned out well in Columbia. But the only thing I'll note here is in Kalen DeBoer's tenure, which granted it's pretty short now, but this is where they've struggled, is double-digit favorites on the road. You look at the games that they've lost, and it's Vanderbilt, it's Oklahoma last year, it's Florida State the opening weekend. So what are your thoughts here? Do you think this Bama team is legit and can take care of business, or is there a potential just scary situation looming at Williams-Brice?
So Williams-Brice in October, always scary. What time is this game? Do y'all know by chance?
This is a 3:30 Eastern kick.
Okay, so not a night game. I've been there, man. It's a great place, and that was a year where they had like 3 wins and they were still electric, at least for a quarter. Man, see, you're right. I mean, DeBoer, great in the big game, can slip up in this spot, right? That's been kind of his thing, and that we saw that as recently as last year. We saw it week 1 this year, but I feel like they got that one out of the way this year, and I think they're on kind of a mission on this journey right now. 4 ranked games in a row. This is a scary spot. It's a game that could be a big letdown spot, but that South Carolina offensive line, man, they're giving Lenora Sellers absolutely no help. This defense, I mean, OU just ran on them. I know Bama maybe struggles a little bit with the run. They're kind of manufacturing it however they can. I think Bernard was their leading rusher last week. They're finding ways to generate a running game, and maybe they can generate it the classic way against a defense that can't really stop it. I'm going Bama big, and quite honestly, if this spread was bigger, I think I would still be taking Bama to cover. I'm going to go Bama really big, 38-17.
Yeah, I like it. I think the one thing, we'll give our official picks tomorrow night on SEC After Dark, but just going back to that Bama struggling as a big road favorite, obviously there was the FSU game, but that's week 1. And last year, what makes me think this Bama team is different is Ty Simpson versus Jalen Milroe, where when they would get in trouble on the road last year, it's because they couldn't throw. And that's not going to be an issue. Like you said, maybe they struggle to run the ball or something else goes wrong, but I trust in what Simpson and those receivers have going on right now for sure.
Yeah, he looks great, man. There's nothing he can't do right now. I mean, it's been such a great run, such an arc for him to be there for a while and then take the job this year. And it just feels like a better fit with Grubb and DeBoer to have a guy with Ty Simpson's skill set for sure.
Absolutely. Next game we want to hit on. So, Bossman, go ahead and intro this one. But game day in Nashville for Mizzou at Vandy. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, congrats to Vandy, man. They're on the up and up. Clark Lee has these guys playing great. Their offense looks awesome. They move the ball up and down the field against LSU. They moved the ball pretty well against Alabama, and if not for a couple mistakes, they would have been right in that game. Mizzou, on the other hand, they're playing very well too. I mean, this is a really solid SEC team, and they still have everything out in front of them. So this is a massive game that you've got in Nashville coming up. Bo Pribula, in the SEC so far, he's thrown 3 TDs and 5 INTs. So he's been a little bit shaky with throwing picks. So he needs to clean that up. I'm also interested to see in this one, can Mizzou get Ahmad Hardy going again? Because the last couple games, first couple games of the year, he was just on fire, going crazy. And then it's slowed down a little bit recently. Vanderbilt has a pretty good rushing defense. They allow under 100 yards a game rushing. So we'll see, are they able to move the ball against Vandy, because they're going to want to run the ball. So what are your thoughts on this one? Do you think that Vandy can get another win, or does Mizzou get a top 10 win in Nashville?
Yeah, a couple of teams in pretty similar spots. I mean, they both lost to Bama. They both have the quarterback that can move around. But just first of all, what a time to be alive. College game day at this game with a pretty good SEC slate around it, and they choose this game. And it was a spotlight game in Nashville last week too versus LSU. But yeah, man, my big question is exactly what you just brought up. Can they get Ahmad Hardy going? Because, he was breaking tackles, looking like a Heisman candidate leading up to these last 2 games. I think it was Bama and Auburn. It's been, under 60 yards in both games, and that's such a big, thing for this Missouri attack, because they don't have much of a vertical passing game. They get some stuff going. They have some smaller receivers that can get going in the short game and make some things happen. But, I think this Vandy defense played pretty well against LSU. I think they have some studs out there, but I really like the Missouri defense. I really like these defensive ends they have. They have 5 sacks apiece. And I think up until this LSU game, Vandy maybe struggled a little bit protecting the quarterback, and a lot of what happened was Diego Pavia making plays. So interesting game in the trenches on both sides. I'm looking at that first and foremost, but Really tight game, really hard to pick this game, really. And it's, what is it? It's Vandy -3.5.
Mm-hmm.
It's so close. I'm going to go with home team quarterback. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go with the better quarterback. I think it's clearly Pavia. I think Pribula is pretty good and he can run a lot, but I think Pavia's, doing some really superstar things out there. We saw it all game versus LSU, him extending plays, spinning out of, areas where it seemed like he was clearly sacked. It was incredible to see. So I'm going to give Vandy the edge at home with the quarterback, 30-24. They cover.
That's a good call. I saw the PFF grades come out. He's got like Diego Pavia, 95 plus PFF grade as a quarterback. I think he's in like 4 different categories. He's either first or second in the SEC. So it's hard to bet against Diego Pavia right now.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. We'll pick the Aggie game last. It is the nightcap after all in Tiger Stadium. So that will then take us to Starkville for the Longhorns. Another road game. They obviously struggled a week ago against Kentucky, but pulled out a win. Mississippi State in a similar scenario didn't struggle, but lost a close game on the road to Florida. I'm fascinated by this game. Texas has obviously not looked up to what people expected them to so far this year. Mississippi State, while being better than I think a lot of people thought they would be, are still looking for their first SEC win since 2023, I believe. So Texas is a 7.5-point favorite here. I can't wait to see them with their first cowbell experience, the Longhorn fans. I know they haven't been there yet. So this should be a fun one. And I think, Mississippi State's certainly capable of keeping it close. What's your read on this one?
Yeah, it's another extremely intriguing game. And this whole SEC slate, it's not like the marquee name matchups you typically see, but they're all just super intriguing for different reasons. And this is one of them because Texas, 3 road games, 3 losses or 2 road games, 2 losses so far this year. Or is that 3? No, it's Ohio State, Florida, and Kentucky. No, they beat Kentucky. It feels like a loss. It feels like a loss. Just reflecting on it. Yeah. So the offense has struggled. I mean, obviously they have an offensive line problem, and that's the center of all of their problems right now as a team. I think it's that offensive line, inability to help a young quarterback. I mean, he's not extremely young, but he is raw. He is newer to the starting ranks. And, he has his issues, but this offensive line isn't really giving him a chance to find his way. And I think everybody knows that when you have an offensive line, your offense becomes unstable. You don't have a reliable running attack. There's a lot of problems there. But when they do have opportunities, they are missing on those opportunities. And that is just amplified everything. I mean, Arch has an open receiver and he underthrows him or overthrows him, or you have a critical drop by Wingo for a first down in this game, or it's a 3rd and 3 and you get a weird coaching call. You get like a double reverse pass on a clear, conversion where you feel like you should try to run this ball. Like you should try to get this thing going. I think Texas only had like 8 designed runs in the first half against Kentucky. I mean, I'm not really sure what happened there. Very strange play calling and just kind of an uneven offense, inconsistent offense. If they can at least get into that look that they showed against Oklahoma, really good defense where they were able to get into field goal range, chip away, get some short stuff going, get Arch moving around. I feel like they got to do that against Mississippi State because that is Texas's offensive strength right now. For Mississippi State, I do think they're, better than their record. They're playing some decent football. I think Jeff Lebby and them are getting a lot out of, a team that maybe lacks depth and talent. But I've just kind of seen, in the A&M game that A&M was able to wear them out. A&M was able to really tire that defense out as the game went on. And maybe this is the game where Texas can try to do that. I don't think Mississippi State is a prolific pass rush team. I don't think they get a major push with their defensive front. So maybe this is the game where Texas can kind of start to chip away offensively, but it's in Starkville, man. It's with the cowbell. It's going to be really, really difficult. I just as an aside, Texas's defense is awesome. That's a championship caliber defense. Mississippi State has struggled at times protecting the quarterback. I think they're getting healthy at offensive tackle, which is a big deal for them. But I see Texas making this a really, really tough night for Blake Shapen. So I think the magic number for Texas in this game to win it, 21 points. If they can get there, I think they're winning this game. And I'm going to say they get there. I'm going to say they win this one. There's a lot of upset calls for this one. I'm going to say Texas wins this one. I'll go 24-17, which is not a cover. So give me Mississippi State, I guess, in this drill.
I like it. Home dogs. I mean, hey, we somewhat try on the show to put our personal biases aside, but
90% of the time.
This
Right.
would inevitably be hilarious if Texas went there and somehow lost.
Dude, you know what? Their fans, I mean, some of them are out on the team. Like, oh, we're losing this game. We're going 7-5. It's like, dude, honestly, like being objective, that defense is going to keep them in every game. They're going to have chances in every game. Even against A&M, when that game happens, I'm just waiting for them to have their breakout offense game against us. You know, that's how it's going to go. But that defense will keep them alive and will give them time. And that was kind of my talking point about Texas going into the year. I thought this offense was going to take some weeks to get going, losing what they lost last year, new quarterback, offensive line, receivers. But it's been more of a hurdle than any of us could have expected. But I'm going to give them the slight edge in the win, but not in the cover, not to cover.
Awesome. Well, let's get the last pick going. Obviously, our Aggies are in Baton Rouge. Boss man, take it away.
This is going to be a fascinating one. So, first time that A&M has been 7-0 since 1994. The last time that the Aggies went to Baton Rouge and beat the LSU Tigers in Baton Rouge, 1994. So it's been a long, long time since the Aggies have won down there on the Bayou. So there's a lot going on in this game. First of all, talk about the weather. We might have another serious, crazy weather game where it could be a lot of rain coming, a lot of wind, all that. So that could potentially change a lot of what's happening with both of these offenses. Obviously, A&M likes to throw the ball all over the field right now. They've got a good running game as well. Unfortunately, Le'Veon Moss is going to be out for a while. LSU doesn't have much of a run game and doesn't have much of an offense at all. A&M's defense has been playing very well. LSU's defense is pretty dadgum good too. So it might be the best defense that A&M has faced thus far. Brian Kelly has had a lot of trouble against ranked teams while at LSU. I think he's like 5-10 against ranked opponents in the SEC, but 20-1 at Death Valley under Brian Kelly. So the Aggies need this one bad. They really just want to win this one. If they win this one, they are rolling, and it looks like the college football playoff is right there. For LSU, if they lose this one, season's pretty much done. Kiss it goodbye. The Brian Kelly, everything around Brian Kelly, fire Brian Kelly, all that stuff, that noise level just gets raised another level. So what do you think of this game? Can the Aggies get it done?
Dude, so many storylines. I hope we're partying like it's 1994, man. There's a lot of parallels going with that season. I didn't realize that was the last time they won in Death Valley, but yeah, man. I mean, it's a huge game for both sides for totally different reasons. They're trying to salvage. A&M is really trying to get ahead in a very commanding way on the season. You get this one. I mean, you're going to beat Samford. It's a 9. You're at 9 wins on the year. You need one between Missouri, South Carolina, and Texas. Such an opportunity for A&M. And yeah, you laid it out perfectly. I mean, that offense has been a surprising struggle. And with LSU, my whole thing was O-line or the defense as a whole, which was pretty good last year, but really kind of struggled down the stretch. One of those had to hit the upside, and the defense has. But the O-line has been such a liability, man. It's been so – it's honestly sad to see, even from a rival's perspective, to see Nuss not really looking like himself, getting hit as he's throwing, having to get the ball out so quickly, so consistently. Surprisingly, they don't have much of a vertical passing game. I mean, Nick Anderson really hasn't gotten it going. Chris Hilton really hasn't gotten it going. He was great in their vertical game late last year, coming back from injury. But it's Death Valley at night. It's wounded animal mode team. I think a lot of Aggies are kind of projecting this to be, okay, A&M is making their stand here. This is where they can do it. This is where they can play that complementary football, both sides. And yeah, they definitely can, and that would be great. But I just have a feeling there's going to be that last-ditch glimmer, that last-ditch, that kind of dying breath, that's kind of brutal to say, from Brian Kelly and this LSU team, where they could put some stuff together, man. They always seem to go away from their run game, but they have like 3 runners averaging over 4.5 yards a carry. If they maybe just try to establish it and test A&M in that department, maybe they can find some success. But with A&M's defense, it's been against the offenses that are somewhat flawed or just not playing at a high level, where they just tee off and have really good games. We saw it in that 3-game homestand. And if we're looking at recent history, just looking at the sample size so far, that's what LSU's offense is. But they certainly have more upside than what you've seen before. So A&M's offense, work cut out for them. Best defense they've seen all year. This defense is kind of battered and bruised, though. I don't think Whit Weeks is playing this week. I think the latest report today says he's still in a walking boot, probably unlikely to play. Jack Pyburn was hurt last game. He played through it, but he wasn't himself. Harold Perkins has just not really been himself since going down with the injury, and it's been a weird liability at that nickel star position. And I think A&M's offense is playing at a pretty high level. I know that Arkansas game, it's not a great defense did it against, but A&M played really well in that game offensively. So having said all of that, scary spot, desperate team. I think it's a lot closer than we hope to be, but I do think A&M wins it, covers. I think it's 31-24 Aggies. We're going to win.
We're going to win.
We're going to do it. And if we win it, the golden path is ahead of us. We have a golden road and a golden ticket right there. Just hold your water, Ags.
I love it. I love it. Well, Drew, we got one more thing real quick. I know you got to get out of here. We asked all of our guests. We're Biscuits and SEC, so we ask you, what is your favorite biscuit? Could be, I don't know exactly where you live within the state, so could be hometown, could be in College Station. What's your favorite biscuit, your go-to?
I'm San Antonio. Okay, this has got to be complicated. So I think what I really enjoy the most is some biscuits and gravy, man. I just think with some gravy with some sausage in it, I think that's my go-to. That's my number one, but that's not always available to me. So I think just like the tried and true classic is some biscuits with some grape jelly. I think that's it right there. And I'm old school, or I don't know what you call this. I'm basic, whatever you want to call it. What are the ones that kind of flake apart? That are they like golden grams or something? What are those
Pillsbury.
called?
Yeah,
Pillsbury.
Flaky layers.
Yeah.
Flaky layers, man. I love me some flaky layers. Yeah. I had some of those this weekend over in Arkansas. My good old cousin out there in Arkansas made me some flaky layered biscuits, and I just lathered them in some grape jelly, and it was a great time. Butter on one side, grape jelly on the other. That's a great time waiting to happen right there. So I'm going to put that at number one right there.
Love it. Love it. Well, dude, thanks again for coming on. Enjoyed chatting with you. Enjoyed your picks. We'll keep tabs. We'll keep we'll post your record next week on our picks, so be sure to check it out. But again, as Drew gets out of here, guys, be sure to give him a follow at DrewTAMU on socials and on YouTube. He does an excellent job talking A&M and all things SEC.
Thank you guys so much for having me, man. And thanks for working with my schedule tonight. It means a lot, guys. Y'all subscribe, follow these guys. They're doing a great job.
Thanks, man. Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it, Drew. Yep.
Thank y'all.
All right, man. That was fun.
That was great. That was fantastic. Again, Drew does a great job. He had a lot of good thoughts on the slate this weekend. Andy, I have to give this comment a shout out. Andy's still thinking about the 7-Up biscuits from a few weeks ago, so I love that.
We'll ping Emily Grace McCorder on that. Her 7-Up biscuits are getting a lot of play here at Biscuits and SEC. And I actually looked up a recipe the other day to see if there is a recipe online, but I'm still after that recipe that she had, because whatever she had that recipe is the golden chalice, man. That is what we want.
Yeah, Mike's saying he found one. He found one.
There you go. Maybe it was Mike. Mike sent me one. That's right. Mike sent me one, and then I also looked another one up just to try and check it out. So we're all over the 7-Up biscuits here. We're going to give you guys a review here at some point, but still, if I can get that recipe from Emily Grace, that's what we're going to go with.
All right. Well, we talked about Billy. We obviously just did our week 9 picks. We will try to keep this tight so we don't go way overtime, but we did want to talk a little bit about the week 8 action. So I think we start, in Nashville. That seemed to be, it was the early game. And I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about that game other than Vanderbilt was the better team. They were the more physical team. They ran the ball. LSU has a very good defense. Vanderbilt just took it to them. And a lot of that is credit to Pavia. I mean, he had, I think I tweeted this out at some point from Biscuits and SEC, but he just had an answer for everything. I mean, that touchdown run that he had that basically sealed the game, LSU comes on the corner blitz, dude is unblocked, and you're thinking, oh, he's about to get lit up. And Pavia somehow sees it, feels it, just, oh, yeah, I'm going to take off right where that guy just left from and run for a touchdown. So we've talked ad nauseum about the LSU offense. They still have a lot of issues, but it wasn't really their fault in this game. They didn't have a ton of possessions. Vanderbilt has always been good at that under, this new regime with Clark Lee and Jerry Kill and Tim Beck and all those guys. They force you to be extremely efficient. And at the end of the day, LSU was not quite efficient enough.
Exactly. I mean, the thing to me that was just crazy is, in what world? I mean, in my lifetime, did I think that I would be saying that Vanderbilt owned the trenches against the LSU Tigers? No, I didn't. And that's what happened. The Vanderbilt is very good along the lines. Or do they have like all these stars, 4 stars, 5 stars like Alabama or LSU or A&M, or, pick one of your blue blood SEC schools? They don't, but they play like it, and Clark Lee, credit to him and his staff, because they are getting every ounce of everything from these players. Every piece, little bit of talent, little bit of coaching, scheme, all of it. They're getting everything that they can out of this team. And it's just impressive to watch. I mean, we saw it early in the year against Virginia Tech, and they played – who was the other team they played that they beat that kind of put everybody on notice?
South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina. Thank you. Both on the road, right? And both of those games, they hammer both of those teams. In the past, they would have probably been the one getting hammered. And now they owned the trenches against Virginia Tech. They owned the trenches against South Carolina. And now they own the trenches against LSU. So that piece of it is just what is so impressive to me about what is going on in Nashville right now. And then you add on top of that, you've got Diego Pavia just running this offense like a maestro, and his stats may not jump off the page to you. And I think I tweeted something like this as well on Biscuits and SEC, but his stats don't jump off the page to you. But if you watch those games, he is making plays like crazy, like Johnny Manziel type plays in critical situations that are propelling Vanderbilt to victory. The run that you talked about, I think it was like a 4th and 3 where he rolled out and threw it back on the screen, and it was wide open. And they went, it was like he's just running this offense perfectly. He knows exactly what they want to do, and he's hitting it in stride. It's really impressive to watch. So that was my takeaway. And yeah, LSU, it's kind of going down the drain. I mean, hey, one more thing to say about LSU, and then I'll let you go. They scored 24 points in this game. One of those was a crazy touchdown that Nuss just, threw a duck. And who was the receiver? I'm forgetting who the receiver was.
Xavier Thomas.
Xavier Thomas, you're right. So Xavier Thomas, he catches this ball and just makes, lemonade with a whole bunch of, sour lemons, and gets it into the end zone. And that was an impressive play, an impressive run. But I mean, the likelihood of that play happening, not very high. So I would frankly take that one off the board. That doesn't happen against most teams. So in reality, your team scored like 17 points against Vanderbilt. Yeah, LSU's in a world of hurt.
Yeah, I think I texted you right after that touchdown and was just like, dang, that's a crazy touchdown. LSU still in this. And then I think I said, but that is not repeatable. Like there's right. No skill in that. There's nothing they can do to do that again. It was
a video game play. It was right. A video game. Yeah.
And meanwhile, everything Vandy was doing looked repeatable. I mean, you look at Vandy's drive chart, it's like 10 play, 13 play, 9 play. I mean, they're just surgical down the field. They're not, like you said, they're not, maybe it is because they don't have the blue chip, but like they have a lot of really good players. I don't want to downplay it, but like they just don't have, somebody that's going to be able to do what Xavier Thomas did on that run. I don't think on their team, but they don't need it because they are efficient. They're smart. They know what they're doing, and their offense is really difficult to stop. And so they're able to go on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives and just pick you apart. It's impressive, man. Super impressive.
Methodical. The word I would use for Vanderbilt is methodical. Again, your drive chart, 9 plays, 10 plays, 12 plays, 16 plays, like all that, and they're chewing up clock. And they're methodical, and they just boom, boom, boom all the way down the field until they get to a point where they're inside the 30-yard line, and then Diego Pavia just works his magic.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's cool to see, and again, they've got a big one this week against Missouri, so fascinated to see how that goes. Elsewhere in the SEC, in Athens, 2 offenses that were anything but methodical in this game. Man, somebody who's been in a coma for 3 years and last time they saw Georgia was 2021, 2022, wakes up and sees this and thinks, Kirby Smart must be gone. What's going on? The Georgia defense is completely lost. This is not the same team. And they're right. They're not the same team. But, man, we keep saying it. Georgia is tough as all get out. And I don't want to compare A&M to Georgia because of how much more Georgia has accomplished. So please hear what I'm saying here. But the way this season, those two teams thus far have been able to win different style games is impressive. And Georgia keeps doing that where, all right, we're on the road in Knoxville. Joey Aguilar's throwing it all over the yard. Gunner, go get us 44. Okay, done. Same thing. Ole Miss. Man, we can't stop Trinidad Chambliss. They are throwing the ball all over us. Gunner, can you get us, 43? Yeah, no problem. I mean, Gunner Stockton, 26 of 31, 289 yards, 4 tutties through the air, added 59 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Like, again, it's not always pretty. The defense has serious flaws, but they are gritty. They're gutsy. They make plays when it counts, and they outscored Ole Miss 17-0 in the fourth quarter. That's your ball game.
Yeah, this was an awesome game to watch. I mean, just so much fun. I described it as a slugfest on Twitter, and I think it was the Always Talking Ball podcast. They were kind of like, I think it's like a shootout. I was like, well, I'm more saying that it was a slugfest in the sense that it was punch for punch, right? Just like back and forth. I mean, if you look at the drive chart in the first half, it was just touchdown, 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 right? Like all the way through. Nobody could stop anybody until you got to the fourth quarter. And then Georgia finally clamped down on defense. They got the one stop that they needed. And I think Ole Miss only had 2 drives in the fourth quarter. But that first drive is when Georgia got the stop. They only allowed 1 yard on that drive. On the second drive that Ole Miss had, Ole Miss gained 12 yards. So in the fourth quarter, Georgia allowed 13 total yards, finally put the clamps down, got the stops when they needed. And Kirby Smart, you alluded to this, just like Georgia's mentality, right? Georgia is just they've been in the Kirby Smart system and the Kirby Smart mentality for so long now that it's just ingrained in that place. And what it is Kirby put it the best. He said in his postgame press conference, he said, we talk about this all the time. We are tough to kill. We are hard to kill. And that's right. Like, Ole Miss has you on the ropes. Lane Kiffin said in his press conference, he's like, we had a grand opportunity right in front of us. And I was telling my guys on the sideline, go and take it. Go and take it. Like, we can beat Georgia in Athens, and we're on our way to the playoff. If we can beat these guys, we can beat anybody. It's time. Seize the moment. But it's Georgia in Athens against Kirby, and they're hard to kill. So I was just very impressed with Georgia, which we're seeing them be able to win games in different ways as well, right? Like similar to Texas A&M, they're having to score many more points than they've had to in the past in order to, win these games because their defense isn't as good as it has been in the past. But you want to play Georgia in a shootout, they can beat you. You want to play them in a rock fight, if Georgia needs to only score 27 and beat you 27-24, they can do that too. So I think the other last thing I'll say on it is both of these teams are very, very good, right? Upper echelon of the SEC, no doubt about it. I think both of them are really solid. Total vindication for the Biscuits and SEC podcast here. Biscuits and SEC Live, Boss Man and Hammer. Before the season, we were talking about there's a lot of stuff out there, national media types and all these folks like, yeah, we don't know if Gunner Stockton's that good. We don't know if he's going to do that good. I don't know. We've seen stuff on him. We've seen his stats. We're not that. They were just kind of poo-pooing him, kind of like, yeah, we're not sure. Well, to this point in the season, he's outplayed Carson Beck, who's now at Miami, and he is one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. And the kid is just a gamer. He's got it. He's got the moxie. He can make the throws. He made the throw at Tennessee. He made multiple big-time throws in this game. So the kid can throw the ball. The kid can run the ball. He's got it. And if they can ride Gunner Stockton and, get this defense shored up just a little bit more, and Ole Miss is one of the better offenses they're going to play all year. But if they can tighten up the defense just a little bit, this is a team that can make the college football playoff and make a run again, just like they have in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mike Bobo doubters are silent right now because Georgia's offense is good.
Yeah.
Speaking of another good offense, we'll keep rolling along here. Bama with another very strong performance in this one. Obviously, offensively, they only put up 30, scored 37 as a team, but the lack of run game from Bama does worry me a bit. But I, kind of as I said to Drew earlier, it's like, man, I really just trust Ty Simpson and what they got going on through the air. He was 19 of 29, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. kind of even a ho-hum performance by him, but again, very efficient. Like anybody will take that going into a big rivalry game like that from their quarterback, especially I guess he did have the fumble, I think, but no interceptions. And Bama's they're just finding ways similar to Georgia, right? Like they're finding ways to win. That defense is improving, I think, week over week. And I know you're at home and it's at night, but Tennessee's got a good offense, man. And holding them to 20 points is not nothing to overlook. I think that was a good defensive performance. And of course, that pick six kind of was the nail in the coffin. And you knew how the game was going to go after that point, but just a good win for Bama. I mean, it's their fourth win in the SEC in a row against a ranked team. Like you don't do that unless you are a very, very good team.
Yeah, we're coming up on Halloween, and I may just dress up as Kalen DeBoer in the black hoodie because that's the Grim Reaper right there.
Yeah.
Kalen DeBoer in the black hoodie, man, you better look out because for whatever reason, that's got the mojo, that's got the juju. And that to me was the big thing, was the pick six. I'm watching this game. Tennessee's in it. If Tennessee punches in right there, we got a game, man. Like this is going to be down to the wire. Yeah. Really good game. Tennessee's offense was moving the ball. Bama was moving the ball. So that pick six just took the air out of the sails of the Vols. And I think without that pick six at the end of the half, that this is probably a much different game. I think Bama probably pulls it out. I think Bama was the better team, but I think that it would have been much closer going into the end had that pick six not happened. So unfortunate for Tennessee that they weren't able to get it done. Yeah, Andy, I was going to touch on this as well. Just it really is impressive. And Emily Grace McWhorter touched on this a couple of weeks ago, just about the mentality of this team and DeBoer and what he had been working on with his team after that FSU loss. Like they heard all the noise, and DeBoer has channeled all of that into an impressive run. Like they look like a totally different team. The mentality has shifted. Ty Simpson is coming into his own as a leader. I mean, listen to that kid talk in post-game and pre-game and just in interviews and everything. He's very poised. He's very collected, and he's the leader of this team without a doubt. And you have to have somebody like that if you're going to make a big run, and especially at a place like Alabama, right, where there's always noise. It's like the Dallas Cowboys, right? The Dallas Cowboys, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you have to be able to block out all the noise because there is constantly stuff going on around you. Ty Simpson, after that FSU loss, that was the question. Is he going to be able to block out the noise? Is Kalen DeBoer going to be able to block out the noise? Is Alabama as a team going to be able to block out the noise? Ty Simpson has led them through the fire and out on the other side. And now they look like one of the best teams in the SEC and, frankly, one of the best teams in the country. So I don't think Tennessee I think Tennessee's going to be fine. This is still a very good team. I'm not sure if they're winning 10 games this year, but I think that Heupel's going to get them to 8-4, 9-3. And, they can play, man. On offense, they are very salty. So not too much to hang your head about if you're Tennessee. Obviously, you want to be smoking the cigars at the end of the night. But Alabama was just a better team, and I think that they're going to be in the playoff.
Yeah, no, it sure seems that way. And Andy, I saw your comment. You were ready to count Alabama out. Don't worry, we were too. We made this graphic after week one, and we still it's still in our studio here. But this one on the left, boss man picking Ty Simpson as player of the year in the SEC. I mean that whoever was buried under that has risen and is walking around and taking scalps because he appears to be the leader in the clubhouse as far as I could tell in terms of the SEC player of the year. So don't worry, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves after that week one loss at FSU as well.
Boss man, after that one, he's like the Undertaker coming back, man. He might still be. And you know what? Andy, you mentioned the Heisman race there. I think Ty Simpson is way up there. I think Marcel Reed is kind of lurking there in the background. And I think you've also got Fernando.
Mendoza. Mike's bringing him up in the chat here.
There you go. Fernando Mendoza at Indiana, man. And guess what? To mention Fernando Mendoza, there was some coach in the SEC. I can't remember where he coaches at, but he got beat by Fernando when he was at Cal last year, and he overlooked him in the portal, and instead he went after somebody else, and it's not going so well for him while Fernando is at the Heisman race. And if you don't know who I'm talking about Hugh Freeze for the Auburn Tigers, because Fernando beat them in Jordan-Hare last year, and he decided to go get Jackson Arnold, and now Fernando is balling out for the Hoosiers. So that might be an unforgivable sin. Maybe the second unforgivable sin.
Yeah. I mean, we might as well go into it at least briefly to touch on it. I don't have a lot to say about this game other than I feel like I have been telling y'all on this show, I mean, probably since the Oklahoma game of just like, and maybe I'll get proven wrong this week, but so far it hasn't happened. Like, just Auburn's just not going to win these games. They're just not. They're finding ways to lose every single time, and it's not always the same thing. And it's hard game by game, especially with, you know, what happened with the refs in Georgia. You know, there's things where you can look at and say, well, that's not Hugh's fault, whatever. But when you just take a step back, man, like, he's just not getting it done. And they are inventing new ways to lose. And they, you know, Hugh Freeze keeps saying it in the press conferences again, like it reminds me a lot of Jimbo. You know, Jimbo kept saying we got to execute. Well, Hugh just keeps saying we got to find ways to make like winning football plays is what he keeps saying. And it's like, well, dude, you're not, and you haven't for 3 years. And it's the same thing. Like, yeah, in crunch time, we got to find a way to make a play. And we're going on, you know, 40-something games in your tenure, and it's the same thing every year. And it happened again. Like, Auburn defense gives them a chance, double overtime, and you score 17 points at home. And Hugh Freeze, your head coach, is your OC. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Andy here, this one hurts us, Andy. We got to execute all-time coachism. We know that one well because Jimbo Fisher, it was always the players didn't execute. The players were there. We didn't execute. We got to execute better, always. That drove A&M fans up a wall. And, yeah, I mean, Hugh Freeze has plenty of Hugh Freeze-isms, you know, Freeze-isms over there. And Auburn fans are just growing so sick and tired of it. And the other part of it is I just looked this up. I wanted to be sure I had this stat right. In one-score games, Hugh Freeze, 2-7. 2-7. And that's what you said. They're inventing new ways to lose these games. And when they need the big play the most, they can't get it. I mean, this also is not all on Jackson Arnold, by the way. I mean, he has not played very well, but there have been plays there, and his receivers are dropping the ball.
Yeah, all of a sudden they can't catch.
They can't catch anything. You drop a ball. I mean, he threw a great ball last week to I don't know if it was Cam Coleman, I can't remember who it was, or Singleton or somebody over the middle. And look, it wasn't an easy catch. He had to dive, but it was a catchable ball drop. Like, in critical moments, they're dropping balls, or Jackson Arnold is taking a sack when he absolutely can't take a sack. Their offensive line is not very good. Jackson Arnold isn't making decisions quickly enough. The offense looks like a total mess. And the defense is keeping them in games. And I mean, that's the story of multiple teams in this conference right now, is the defense is keeping them in games, and, you know, the offense is just nowhere to be found. But that's the problem right now with Auburn, is that Hugh Freeze is an offensive guy. If there is one thing Auburn should be good at, it is offense, because Hugh Freeze, that's his calling card. It has been for his entire career. So it has looked like this for 3 years now. When is it ever going to change? And by the way, you have been the guy who's supposed to be evaluating quarterbacks for 3 years. It has been terrible. And you've brought in the wrong guy in the portal. And there have been many other guys in the portal that you could have gone to get who would have worked out much better. So I don't know if he's ever going to get a chance to get to his big recruit Deuce Knight, because the Auburn fan base is really ticked. And for Missouri, good win. Tough SEC road win. You got to go to Jordan-Hare at night. Get a win. Just keep moving on.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, that game to me is just a tale of two different coaches, frankly. We brought it up. Freeze finds ways to lose games. He's 2-7 in one-score games. Well, Drink's the opposite, man. That guy, again, you know, I don't know what it is. It's one of those traits about coaches or teams that's hard to quantify. But, dude, Missouri makes clutch plays, and they have made clutch plays for years. They win close games. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And they did it again here, right? When they need to make a play, they make plays. And then, for the second straight week, a opposing coach at night in Jordan-Hare is screaming at the top of their lungs from the sideline, celebrating a win. And Hugh Freeze is walking off the field, and the Auburn. I feel bad for Auburn, man. I feel bad for those fans. It's a great fan base. And, we were talking off air, but it's like they bought into the Uncle Baby Billy preacher sales pitch that Hugh Freeze gave them. And 3 years into it, they're figuring out that, or 4 years now, I don't even know how long he's been there. I can't remember, but like they're figuring out it was all a sham. He's selling, elixirs from the back of his Oldsmobile, and Auburn bought into it. And
yeah,
I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the Auburn fan base. But anyway, we got to move on. We got a couple more games to touch on. Let's
quickly payday, hallelujah.
Yeah, let's quickly hit on A&M Arkansas. We did talk a little bit about this with Drew, so we don't have to belabor it much. But look, I think from the A&M side, again, I saw a lot of people, and I heard some stuff watching the Texags post-game show of some Aggie fans being like, this team's not that good, and how could we do this? We almost, whatever. And look, I have no time for that. I was ecstatic that we won this game.
Yeah.
It's in Arkansas. It's a weather delay. Bobby Petrino doesn't like you and is coaching, to earn that job. Like, he's throwing out all the stops. And yeah, did the defense play very well? No, but we've seen them play well. So as Drew said, I don't know what they are exactly, but they're capable of being very good, and they're capable of not being very good. So they're somewhere in the middle, but you score 45 points on the road in the SEC. The offense looks great. And from watching that game, man, I more than saying the Aggie defense played terrible, which again, you don't give up 42 points and play well. So I don't want to give them credit here, but to me, that was more of a hat tip to Taylon Green, because that dude is a baller. He was dead to rights so many times. He was hobbled, and he just made plays. So as an Aggie, I'm ecstatic about the result. They're 7-0. They're winning ball games, but it was definitely an ugly one at times in Fayetteville.
Arkansas is going to get somebody, because that offense is really impressive. And Taylon Green is the engine that makes that entire thing run. And he's making people around him better. I mean, frankly, if they had some better wide receivers out there, I mean, Omega Blake's a pretty good wide receiver, but yeah, the guys that they had last year, they had some real talent at wide receiver. If they were able to keep a guy on A&M's roster, Ashton Bethel Roman, who's played pretty well in this game. He was an Arkansas commit, was on campus and ended up leaving.
Satania is doing well at OU.
Tanya is doing well at OU. Isaac Tesla in the NFL now. He was impressive last year. But again, if you just had a few more guys around him, and again, people forget, like, look, I know for Aggie fans, you want to win by 15. You want to win by 21. You want to blow everybody out. Look, everybody wants to do that. But there's two things to remember on this. The first is that let's think about the history of this series. This always comes down to the last 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. It has for the last 13 years. Since A&M joined the SEC, I mean, it goes to overtime. It's a field goal. Arkansas, I mean, it's just been heartbreak after heartbreak for Arkansas, but it's been almost all one-score games late in the fourth quarter. So I don't know what else you expected when you're going to Fayetteville with Bobby P, gunning for you. I frankly expected it. And then the other part of it is, I know Arkansas is bad if you just look at their record on paper, but if you've watched any of Arkansas football this year, aside from the Notre Dame game, before the Notre Dame game, this team was 2 plays away from being 4-0. Like, they have a bad defense, yes, but 2 plays away from being 4-0, like, very easily could have Sam Pittman still be their head coach right now if it was for a couple bounces of the ball the other way, and if you don't fumble, late against Memphis. So, it's not a bad football team. The Arkansas Razorbacks, even though their record says it, they're not bad. So for A&M to go in there and get a win, and by the way, the last thing I'll say on this for A&M is not against Arkansas, but against other teams in previous years, A&M loses games like this. They have made it their job of losing games like this, and not coming up in the clutch. Well, this seems different. They're 7-0, and Mike Elko seems to have implemented a much different mentality in this team to where they run through the glass, they run through the tape, and they get it done when it matters. So if you're an Aggie, I know you just take a deep breath. You're 7-0. You're number 3 in the country. Like, what do you have to be mad about?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think, Mike, we'll do you a favor here. We'll skip the OU South Carolina game. Good win for OU. Tough game for South Carolina. But we,
talking about Arkansas.
Yeah, they are. For the last game we should touch on as we're running at an hour and 15 minutes here.
Yeah, go along.
Texas narrowly escapes in Lexington. What are your thoughts on this one?
Golly, man. I mean, I watched a good amount of this game, and I think Texas is what they are this year. Like, I think we've seen enough to know that this offense probably ain't going to do much this year. You may have one game, right, where Arch puts it together and they figure it out. But when is that going to come? You would think it would have come against a team like Kentucky, but it didn't. I mean, that stadium was half full. They thought that Texas was going to come in there and finally put it together and roll them. And they're all, half of them are out on Mark Stoops. They're about done. And you go in there and you have to go to overtime to beat them. And Kentucky had you. They had you. They were on the 1 yard line and they tried to run it into the teeth of the strength of the Texas defense twice and got stuffed. Like, that was horrible play calling on the part of Mark Stoops and Hamden Bush there, the OC for Kentucky. I couldn't believe my eyes when I watched them, try to run it up the middle into the teeth of that Texas defense, the strength of their entire team. But hey, credit to Kentucky. Cutter Boley played a great game. He really did play well in this one. So you got to be excited about for Kentucky fans with Cutter Boley going forward. But this is Texas, man. They should be absolutely whipping a Kentucky team like this. And to come out with a 3-point win, man, it's weird in Austin right now. And look, Mississippi State, you really better be worried, because this could end up being another game very similar to Florida last week with Florida and Mississippi State, where it's a 1-score game going into the final minutes there. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with everything you said. I don't want to belabor too long on this one, but I think it's just worth pointing out really how improbable it was that Kentucky did not win this game. First downs, Texas 8, Kentucky 26.
Oh my gosh.
Total yards, Kentucky 395. Texas 179. They didn't break 200 yards.
My goodness.
Passing, Kentucky 31 out of 40 for 258 yards. As you said, Cutter Boley played pretty well.
Yeah.
Texas 12 of 27 for 132 yards. Rushing, Kentucky 46 attempts, 137 yards. Texas 28 attempts, 47 yards. Texas, 7 penalties. Kentucky, 3 penalties. Time of possession, Kentucky, 39 minutes and 23 seconds. Texas, 20 minutes and 37 seconds. So, yeah, Kentucky had this game. Every single statistical category shows they should have won. Of course, the one Texas touchdown that, basically saved the game was thanks to another punt return that got them down to the 5. But look, at the end of the day, Texas, they unless they magically find something, they're going to start catching losses quickly, because that type of performance, I don't care how good your defense is, you will lose ball games. Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, A&M, and even Mississippi State this weekend probably all beat you if you play like that. Certainly 3 out of those 5 beat you if you play like that. So I don't know. I don't know what levers Sark can pull on offense, because they do have a lot of issues really across the board. Offensive line's not good. Arch is not playing good. Receivers aren't getting open. I actually do think Wisner's a good player. So if he had some blocking, I think he could make some plays. But I don't really know what levers they can pull to fix this. But again, if they don't, I don't care how good your defense is, you're going to start catching losses. And we'll see this weekend if they get something figured out, because Mississippi State is vulnerable on defense. And so if you're going to have a good game, maybe it's this weekend. But easier said than done with the cowbells ringing in your ears, man. I could see midway through the second quarter of this game, things are not going well. And there's a picture of, Arch on the sideline looking like a Manning. And people just meme it because, the cowbells are going crazy and Arch, looks like he's in space and Texas is down 10-0. Yeah, the stadium pulses through the roof.
Yeah, right. Yes, I could definitely see that. Don't steal that. We're making that meme. The whole thing with, you mentioned it, the whole this is not going to get fixed this year, and this is why. You mentioned the offensive line. It's the offensive line. That was the one thing. I mean, there was a couple things that we looked at with Texas we were worried about, right? That they had to replace a lot. They had a lot of new guys coming in, right, both on offense and on defense, namely at quarterback, right, new starter. But the biggest thing that we honed in on was the offensive line. They've got a lot of guys who are, highly recruited, really big dudes on the line. They're towers and everything, but they're all new. You lost 4 guys to the NFL. So 4 out of your 5 offensive linemen are new. And we've been hammering it on this show. That is such a big thing. If you guys are looking at preseason magazines and all that sort of stuff, and everybody's pumping sunshine up of whatever team it is, right? The first thing to look at is the offensive line. What do they have on the offensive line? Do they bring in a bunch of transfers on the offensive line? Is this an offensive line like Texas A&M has, where they've been together for a couple years? They're now upperclassmen. They've been playing together in the same system for a couple years. That all matters. And at Texas, they don't have it right now. Those guys are not playing together. They're missing assignments. Arch isn't calling checks very well before the play to set protections. It's kind of a mess on the offensive line. That's not getting fixed this year. So that's why I think in these games going forward, I mean, bring up their schedule here for one more second so I can go through it. So before the season, right, we're looking through these games and we're like, okay, I mean, I think they can go 10-2, right? Oh, they're going to whip Kentucky. Mississippi State's terrible. They're going to beat them. Vandy, who knows, maybe regress to the mean. Georgia's good. Arkansas should beat them. A&M, you beat them pretty solidly in College Station, if not for, a couple of mistakes. Ohio State's a toss-up. Who knows? Now, I mean, you mentioned it. We just saw what happened against Kentucky. We saw the loss to Florida, saw the loss to Ohio State. They haven't looked good in games against like UTEP, right? They didn't look good for a half against San Jose State.
Yeah.
Mississippi State can get you Vanderbilt, Georgia, Arkansas, A&M. All those games now look much, much more difficult because your offense is stuck in quicksand. Texas has a lot of issues right now, and I don't think it's getting fixed this year. And I'm really interested to see. There's already starting to be calls. Should Sark give up play calling? Right. Same thing with Billy Napier, right? All the Florida fans give up play calling, become a CEO. A&M fans when Jimbo was there, give up play calling, become a CEO, get out of that, right? They're already starting to talk about it at Texas because not only has the offense been really bad this year, but they had offensive issues last year too, in the last 2 years with Quinn Ewers, right? Quinn Ewers, they would score points, but they would go on dry spells for long periods of time. So, yeah, man, I don't think they're fixing it this year, and we'll see how this looks at the end of the year. But Stephen Willis, again, got to give him his flowers, locked on Ole Miss before the season. He said they're on 8-4 watch. I thought he was crazy. I thought 9-3, 10-2. They legitimately are on 8-4 watch.
Yeah. No, they definitely are. Well, man, I think that's all we got for the Week 8 slate. We will close it out with, of course, our Muschamp Coach of the Week and Biscuit of the Week. You handled the Muschamp Coach of the Week, so I will let you take that away.
You bet. So we could have gone a couple different ways with this. As always, there's always a couple, coaches who rise up and are a Muschamp Coach of the Week nominee. This week, the one runner-up that I had, there was a couple. John Summerall probably could have won it again. He's in the running, seems like almost every week.
Yeah.
And then Eli Drinkwitz as well. he had some good quotes. He especially had a good quote today on Feinbaum. I'm not sure if everybody saw it, but you ought to go check it out because Feinbaum asked him about the Florida job and how they were blocking out the noise. And Drinkwitz said, well, it's kind of like if you're debating if you're going to run for the United States Senate or keep your job. Feinbaum started laughing, so he took a little jab at Feinbaum and tried messing with him, patting him on the head on his show. It was pretty funny. So Eli was the runner-up. But if all of you, we got almost 300 of you watching tonight, so thank you all for being with us. If you don't know, if you're new to Biscuits and SEC, this is not a joke. On Coach Muschamp, we love Coach Muschamp here. We name him Muschamp Coach of the Week every week because Coach Muschamp, while his stays at South Carolina and at Florida didn't go as he would have liked, overall, he exemplifies, the passion of college football, and his players love him. Every player that played for him loves him. He's punching whiteboards. He's got blood running down his face. He's headbutting players and all that. So we like to give it to a coach who exemplifies his passion each week. So this week, this is a coach who is passionate and is doing a heck of a job. So your Muschamp Coach of the Week right here, Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, for getting a big win over the LSU Tigers in Nashville.
How about them Commodores?
How about them Commodores, baby? Good for Clark Lee. Congratulations to him on winning the Muschamp Coach of the Week, the prestigious and esteemed award from Biscuits and SEC. We will be sure to get him the certificate in the mail and maybe someday a trophy when we get around to it.
Absolutely. Yep. Good stuff from Clark Lee and Vandy to close us out. Our biscuit of the week. Again, we got a big audience tonight. Appreciate y'all being here. We always highlight a biscuit at the end of the show. If you want to be highlighted yourself, whether it's a biscuit you enjoyed at a fine establishment or homemade, shoot us a DM, drop us a line in email, contact@biscuitsandsec.com. We'll be sure to feature it. Our biscuit of the week this week is a in-house biscuit. So this is from one of my favorite coffee shops in Fort Collins. My fiance loves this place, so I find myself there pretty often. And they make a really good just bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit with like a green chili sauce. And there's some like cheese and jalapeno in the biscuit you can kind of see there. It's very good. You can see I'm munching down in the truck after picking it up a little bit later. But yeah, I've had that a couple times this season, actually. A couple different Saturdays before games kicked off, I found myself at this Bindle coffee shop getting a bacon, egg, and cheese with this green chili sauce breakfast biscuit, and it is darn good.
That gum, yeah, that looks incredible. I don't know, that looks like that biscuit is maybe working like Popeyes on you. I mean, look at that guy; he's jacked. Impressive. Yeah. Bindle Coffee Company. If you want some protein biscuits, go to Bindle in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yeah, it'll have you busting out of your shirt in no time.
But that looks awesome. By the way, we've started a tradition here at Biscuits and SEC. I've been doing this. I think I started it last year, and the tradition is every Saturday morning I go get a biscuit. Sometimes it's just a Chick-fil-A spicy chicken biscuit. That's my go-to. Sometimes it's from a local spot down the road from me. Sometimes I make homemade biscuits, or Hammer and I have done it as well when we've been home together. But if you guys want to join in on the tradition, we would love to have you guys join in with us. I'll post it on Saturday morning as I get up for game day. Saturday tradition. Let's have a day, y'all. And, post a picture of the biscuit, give you the rundown of what I'm going after. And if you guys want to join in, you're welcome to reply to that or tag us at Biscuits and SEC on Twitter and show us what biscuit you got that you're running out to get you ready and fueled up for a big Saturday of football.
Absolutely. No, that's a great tradition. There's no better way to start a college football Saturday than a big breakfast biscuit sandwich. So we highly recommend it. That will do it for us. What a show. We've gone almost 90 minutes, so appreciate y'all sticking around. That was a super fun one. We had a ton of stuff to go over from week 8. Drew did a great job coming on as a guest picker. If y'all missed that, be sure to go back and watch it. We'll be sending some graphics out. But once again, he is at DrewTAMU on all the socials and YouTube. And last plug, sign up for the newsletter, biscuitsandSEC.com/newsletter. Next one will be out Friday, then following Monday, totally free. And hopefully it keeps you all entertained. But thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll see y'all next Wednesday.
And we'll see you tomorrow night for SEC After Dark to make our picks. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Appreciate y'all.